The 2014 United States Senate election in Georgia will be held on November 4, 2014, to elect a member of the United States Senate to represent the state of Georgia, concurrently with the election of the governor of Georgia, as well as other elections to the United States Senate in other states and elections to the United States House of Representatives and various state and local elections. Incumbent Republican Senator Saxby Chambliss announced on January 25, 2013 that he would not run for re-election, making this an open seat race. After a close and contentious primary campaign, businessman David Perdue and U.S. Representative Jack Kingston advanced to a runoff for the Republican nomination, which was narrowly won by Perdue. The Democratic primary was decisively won by points of light CEO Michelle Nunn, the daughter of former U.S. Senator Sam Nunn. Also running as Libertarian nominee Amanda Swafford, a former Flowery Branch City Councilwoman. If no candidate receives a majority of the vote, a runoff will be held between the top two finishes on January 6, 2015, after the 114th Congress has been sworn in. Republican primary. The primary was held on May 20, 2014. No candidate won more than 50% of the vote, so a runoff was held between the top two candidates, David Perdue and Jack Kingston. The 30.6% won by Perdue is the lowest ever for a first-place finisher in a Georgia U.S. Senate primary by either party in state history. Candidates declared: Paul Brown, U.S. Representative; Art Gardner, patent attorney; Phil Gingrey, U.S. Representative; Derek E. Grayson, conservative political activist; Karen Handel, former Secretary of State of Georgia; former Susan G. Kimmelman executive and candidate for governor in 2010; Jack Kingston, U.S. Representative; David Perdue, Georgia Ports Authority board member, former CEO of Dollar General and Reebok and cousin of former Governor Sonny Perdue; withdrew; Eugene U., businessman, president of the Federation of Korean Associations and former deputy sheriff of Richmond County, declined; Casey Cagle, lieutenant governor of Georgia; Herman Cain, former CEO of the National Restaurant Association, former chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City and candidate for president in 2012, Saxby Chambliss; incumbent U.S. Senator, Doug Collins; U.S. Representative, Eric Erickson; conservative blogger and former member of the Macon City Council, Newt Gingrich; former Speaker of the House of Representatives and candidate for president in 2012, Tom Graves; U.S. Representative, Brian Kemp; Secretary of State of Georgia, Ed Lindsey; Majority Whip of the Georgia House of Representatives, Kelly Loeffler; co-owner of the Women's National Basketball Association team Atlanta Dream, Barry Loudermilk; State Senator, Sam Olens; Attorney General of Georgia, Sonny Perdue; former Governor of Georgia, Tom Price; U.S. Representative, David Ralston; Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives, Austin Scott; U.S. Representative, Eric Tenenblatt; Chief of Staff to former Governor Sonny Perdue, Ross Tolson; State Senator, Allen West; former U.S. Representative from Florida, Lynn Westmoreland; U.S. Representative, Rob Woodall; U.S. Representative. Endorsements, polling, internal poll for Karen Handel campaign, internal poll for Jack Kingston campaign, results, runoff. The runoff was held on July 22, 2014, which Perdue won with 50.9% of the vote. Endorsements, polling, internal poll for David Perdue's campaign, internal poll for Jack Kingston's campaign, results, Democratic primary, candidates, declared: Steen Miles, former state senator, candidate for lieutenant governor in 2006 and candidate for DeKalb County CEO in 2000 and 2008, Michelle Nunn, CEO of Points of Light and daughter of former U.S. Senator Sam Nunn; Branko Radulovaki, physician; Todd Robinson, Reserve Officers Training Corps instructor and former U.S. Army Ranger, withdrew; Gerald Beckham, mayor of Oglethorpe, declined; Stacey Abrams, Minority Leader of the Georgia House of Representatives, David Adelman, United States Ambassador to Singapore and former State Senator, Peter Emmon, former COO of Atlanta, the Burt Baker, former Attorney General of Georgia and candidate for governor in 2010, Roy Barnes, former Governor, John Barrow, U.S. Representative from 12th Georgia District, Sanford Bishop, U.S. Representative, Jason Carter, State Senator and grandson of former President and former Governor Jimmy Carter, Max Cleland, former U.S. Senator, Kathy Cox, President of Young Harris College, former Secretary of State of Georgia and candidate for governor in 2006, Shirley Franklin, former Mayor of Atlanta, Scott Holcomb, State Representative, Vernon Jones, former DeKalb County CEO and candidate for the U.S. Senate in 2008, Jim Marshall, former U.S. Representative, Keith Mason, Chief of Staff to former Governor Zell Miller, Stephen Oppenheimer, businessman, Task Force Coordinator for Clean Cities Atlanta and nominee for District 3 of the Georgia Public Service Commission in 2012, DuBose Porter, former state representative and candidate for governor in 2010, Doug Stoner, former state senator, Mark Taylor, former lieutenant governor of Georgia and nominee for governor in 2006, Steve Thompson, state senator, Michael Thurmond, interim superintendent of the DeKalb County School District, former Georgia Labor Commissioner and nominee for the U.S. Senate. In 2010, Kasem Reed, mayor of Atlanta, endorsements, polling, results, Libertarian primary, candidates, declared, Amanda Swafford, former Flowery Branch City Councilwoman, general election, fundraising, the following are Federal Election Commission disclosures for the October quarterly reporting period. David Perdue has funded more than $1.9 million of his campaign personally. The second largest total of any Senate candidate. A total of $23,355,844 has been raised by the candidates for this race. Of that, a total of $22,917,058 has been spent by all of the campaigns. To put that in perspective, that is $2.31 per Georgian. Spending, this Senate race, as many others across the United States, will be heavily influenced by outside PACs and organizations who support various candidates. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is expected to spend almost $50 million on elections this year and has endorsed Republican Jack Kingston. More than $4.6 million has been spent on advertising in the Georgia race by outside groups so far. In 2008, outside groups spent more than $20 million in the Georgia Senate race. Polling, runoff, polling, see also, United States Senate elections, 2014, United States House of Representatives elections in Georgia, 2014, Georgia gubernatorial election, 2014, United States elections, 2014, references. External links, U.S. Senate elections in Georgia, 2014 at Ballotpedia, United States Senate election in Georgia, 2014 at DMOZ, campaign contributions at opensecrets.org, official campaign websites. David Perdue for U.S. Senate Republican primary, Michelle Nunn for U.S. Senate Democratic primary.